Okay guys, welcome to this video. In today's video we'll be discussing something different. We'll be discussing some of the CSS properties that you need to know as a beginner. Alright, if you check our last video, we were cloning Netflix website. Alright, but this morning I checked Netflix website and I've discovered that Netflix has updated their website. It is now totally different from what we have. Alright, look at what we have here. Can't you see it's very different? Alright, so I'll be doing a video to show you how to do this latest Netflix clone, alright, from scratch. Alright, so I will start afresh, but before we go to that project, which will be coming up next, so you have to subscribe to our channel and like this video so that you not miss the Netflix clone website project. Alright, but we'll be discussing about some CSS properties that will help us to understand what we are doing as beginners. Alright, we have fonts, alright, we have padding, alright, we have margin, and we have background color, and we have letter spacing. Alright, we'll be discussing all of these CSS properties each, alright, and with their examples. So let's go to our Visual Studio Code. These are the files we created. This was our Netflix HTML file we created. You can equally see it. Alright, so we want to create a new file called, maybe give it any name of your choice. Let me call mine CSS underscore properties .html. Alright, so let's use image to create our HTML boilerplate. Right, just click shift and then press enter. It will show you this thing, then click enter. Okay, now you can give it any name of your choice. Let's say CSS properties. Okay, now I want to give you some of the things we'll be working on. Alright, we have, maybe let me say h1 tag, say welcome to my YouTube channel, right? And then we have a p tag which we say hope you are enjoying the video. Okay, now we have a button tag which says yes I am. But honestly, hope you're enjoying the video, because I just want to know whether you are enjoying the video or not. Let's preview this thing in our browser. Now this is how it looks. Alright, this is how it looks by default. Alright, this is an h1 tag. Like, h1 tag is the biggest tag when it comes to font size in HTML. Alright, this is our paragraph tag, which is the p tag, and this is our button. Okay, so let's start applying some of these CSS properties to our elements. Right, first of all, we have to create a style tag so that we can be able to write our CSS internally. Alright, in my next video I'll start showing you how to write external CSS, like that kind of CSS where you will create a CSS file on its own and then link it up, right, with your HTML file. Okay, now let's select all of our elements and then remove the default margin and padding. Alright, so let's say star curly bracket padding 0, margin 0, border box size and border box. Alright, now all of this margin will be out. Can't you see it looks much nicer now? Alright, let's begin with fonts. Alright, let's target our h1 tag. Okay, Then under this font we will be discussing about three sub properties that falls under this font. Number one property we'll be looking at is the font size, the font family, and the font weight. Alright, so let's start with the font size. Alright, by default our h1 tag is the biggest, has the biggest font size in HTML. Alright, but we would like that font size to reduce. We want a different font size. We want it to look different than what it is now. Alright, now let's use this font size. That's whenever you want to change the size of your text in HTML, the CSS property that will come to your mind is font size. Alright, font size. Alright, let me use 16 pixels. Oh sorry, 16 pixels. Right, now let's check and see how it looks. Can't you see it's now very small, just like the p tag. Alright, just like the p tag. Alright, you can also increase it to 20. Alright, to 20. Alright, and you see it has increased, so we can easily adjust the size of our HTML text. Alright, of our text with font size. Okay, whenever you want to change the size of your text in HTML, the first CSS property that will come to your mind is font size. Alright, font size is used to change the size of your text in HTML. Okay, you can apply this thing in React or any other front end framework. Right, but what we are using here now is HTML, so all of my teachings will be based on HTML. Maybe with time I will start talking about React when we must have done lots of projects on HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then we move to React. Alright, make sure you subscribe to this channel because I've bringing you lots of amazing videos as long as you are a subscriber, so that you will not miss these amazing videos. Alright, now the next one is the font family. Alright, what is the font family? The font family is used whenever you want your HTML tags, your HTML text to have a beautiful font style. Alright, to have a unique font style. By default, let me show you what I mean. Alright, by default HTML has its own font family that you can choose from. Alright, you can choose from any of these. You can scroll, there are lots of them. You can scroll, just choose anyone you like. Alright, you can choose anyone you like, and it will update the style of your text. Alright, to update the style of the text, I think we chose the same font again. Let's use a different font so that you can see the difference. Right, so let's choose this one so you can see how beautiful it will look. Now, can't you see how beautiful it looks now? It is much more better than the way it was before. Alright, with font family you can decide which style your text we have in HTML. Right, as well we can also use third-party fonts like Google Fonts. Alright, let's go to our browser, let's search for Google Fonts and click on the first link. Right, let's click on the first link. Now we want to use fonts that are not available in HTML. Alright, we want to use Google Fonts. Okay, Google Fonts. Okay, these are the fonts that are available in Google Fonts. Right, let me choose Open Sans, right, because this is one of the amazing, these fonts are very beautiful. I love using Open Sans. They makes my work very beautiful. Let me use the regular one. Okay, so we can see what we have. Okay, now for you to use this Google Fonts, you have two options. Right, you can either import it into your CSS file Alright, but for now we are not using CSS file. Alright, you can just copy this thing and paste it inside your CSS file if you're using external styling. Alright, but we are doing internal styling, so what we need is just to copy the link. Alright, we can either copy the link by clicking this icon here, or we can copy it manually here. Okay, alright, so let's go to our HTML file. So let's come over here and paste it. Okay, let's change it to Open Sans, so we can have a different font from here. Just copy the name before we make mistake, because if you do not copy the name, it might not work. Okay, just copy the name, come over here and paste it. Then let's check our stuff here. So can't you see it's not our H1 is now having a different font style. Alright, so this is how we can choose lots of font family for our HTML text, or our H1, H2, or whatever HTML tag you are using, as long as it has text in it. Alright, this is how we can change the look. Alright, now let's go to the next one, which is font weight. Right, font weight is just talking about the thickness of our text. Alright, the thickness, how thick it is. Now let me show you an example. Looking at our H1 and P tag now, can't you see that our H1 is more thicker than our P tag? Yes, it is very thick. Our H1 is much thicker than our P tag. Why? Because they have different font weight, right, by default. Right, but if you want to reduce the font weight of our H1, alright, the thickness of our H1, we can reduce it if you want. Alright, you can reduce it. Sorry, I selected the wrong CSS property. Going for font weight, right? Can't you see the thickness is gone? Alright, it is now much lighter. Alright, but if you want to increase it, you can say, alright, and you see it's now much thicker. Alright, so with font weight we can decide how thick our text will look in HTML. Alright, so we are done with fonts, although there are still other amazing sub properties inside these fonts, but these are the most common ones you will see. The most common ones you will see are the font size, font family, and font weight. Alright, and we have just discussed about it now. So let's move to the next stuff on our list, which is padding. Alright, now what is padding? In CSS we have what we call box model. Alright, box model, let me explain what is box model. Box model simply means the visual representation of our elements on the browser. Right, we have 4 properties. Right, we have the content itself, we have the padding, we have the margin, and we have the border. Alright, these are the properties that makes up box model. Right, so padding gives space within the container, within that box model. Right, it gives space within the container. Let me use this button as an example and explain what I mean by that. Alright, so let's target our button, then apply some padding to it. Let me say padding, say 4 pixels, right, so you can see the difference. Now looking at this, our button now has much space inside it than before. Right, it now has much space inside it than before. It was very smaller. Let me comment on this so we can see the disparity between the two. Alright, can't you see it is very small? Alright, the text are almost touching at the edge self, right? But with padding you can give space between our content and its environment. All right, can't you see we now have much space in between these two? All right, now under this padding we have a shorthand property. All right, shorthand property whereby instead of we have four okay, let me explain it with this button. All right, looking at this button, all right, we have the top, we have the right, we have the bottom, and we have the left, right? Yeah, clockwise. All right, this is the top, this is the right, and this is the bottom, and then this is the left. All right, so that is how we also have it in padding as well. I can pick a specific area that I want to add padding to. Like I can say, okay, padding bottom, let me say 10 pixels, right? So that now you see the differences. Now looking at the bottom has much space than any other side of the button, right? Because we picked that side specifically and added a different value to it. So that's why our padding bottom is much more bigger than every other side. Like we can as well target every other angle as well. Let me say padding right, padding right, let me say 10 pixels, then padding left, right, padding left 10 pixels, then padding top 10 pixels. Automatically I don't need this one again, so let's comment on it, but we'll get back to it. I want to use and explain something. Right, now all of these four sizes now have the same number value, now have the same padding, right? The same 10 pixels padding. All right, that's why it's looking much nice, right? But now looking at our code, it's a little bit messy. All right, can't you see we have padding, so many value. We are just repeating ourselves, but we are just changing the CSS property, but the value is still the same thing, right? In CSS we can achieve this thing with lesser code, with what we call shorthand. All right, now let's comment this thing out. Now we can comment these things out, right, and come over here and say padding 10 pixels. Now this padding simply means you are targeting the four sides, all of the four sides at once. You want to apply this 10 pixels value to all of the four sides of the button at once without trying to specify them one by one, right? Which doesn't really make any sense. Right, now we have cancelled this thing out, then added 10 pixels to the padding, so we are targeting the four sides immediately. All right, so let's check it. It is still the same thing, nothing changed. All right, nothing changed. But what of a situation when we want to give each of these four sides different value? How can we achieve it? By using shorthand, right? By using shorthand we can achieve this thing. Like I said earlier, this thing has been calculated clockwise from the top, the right, the bottom, and the left. All right, so if you want to target the top, if you want the top to have a different value, all right, let me not confuse you. If you want the top to have a different value, let me say 20 pixels, right? This one is for the top, right? Now remember, this thing moves in a clockwise direction. All right, now 20 pixels. All right, now the next one is the left, right? Now we want the left to have 10 pixels, right? What's the next one? We are looking for the padding bottom, right? So we want the padding bottom to be 5 pixels, right? Then the last one is the left side, right? So maybe let's give it 7 pixels, right? Now let's see the effect. Now I'm looking at this. All of the four sides have different values. That's why you are seeing different representation, right? The top has the highest number, which is 20. you can clearly see the differences, right, which is 20. Then the right have 10, the bottom have, I think, about 5. Yes, 5. Then the left has 7, right? So this is how you can specify different CSS value to your padding, right, with shorthand, right? You can do it the easy way, which is listing it individually and giving them different value. But if you want to show that you are a pro, right, you can use shorthand and do it. It will be much more cleaner than the other method. Right, so let's move to the next CSS property, which is margin. All right, margin is very similar to padding, all right, but margin is a little bit different. All right, like I said earlier, we have what we call CSS box model. Right, box model, like I said, padding gives space within the container of the element. All right, we are trying to give space within the environment of our context of our content. Right, like I said, CSS has what we call box model, which is the visual representation of our elements on the browser. Right, so padding gives you space within the content of that box. Alright, while margin gives you space outside the content of that box. Let me show you what I mean with margin. Alright, so I want margin, maybe let me give margin top, let me say 30 pixels. Right, now let's see the difference. Now, instead of giving us space within this our button, we are creating space outside our button. All right, outside our button. Right, can you see the differences? Padding gives you space within the content of within the container of your element. All right, while margin gives you space outside the container of your element. All right, can you see the differences between these two? All right, so we can as well say margin left, just like the way we did in padding. Maybe margin left 10 pixels. All right, so we have some space from here. All right, we are taking our button off from the edge of our screen. All right, with the help of margin. All right, so anytime you want to give space to your element so that they can be separate from each other, use margin. All right, but whenever you want to give space to your content, right, like this button for example, now you can use padding. All right, so the same way our padding have shorthand properties, that's the same way our margin have shorthand properties as well. All right, so let's try the shorthand properties of margin. All right, just like padding as well, we can start by saying margin. All right, we want our top to have 30 pixels, the same clockwise direction, 30 pixels. Then we want our right to have 10 pixels. Then we want our bottom to have, let me say, 40 pixels, although there is nothing under our button share. Well, let's give it 40 pixels. Then the left one, let's increase it to 20 pixels. Right, and you see the differences. Make sure you are giving space. Never write it like this because it will show you an error. Make sure you give space in between these things, right, so that sorry, I don't know what happened, so that it can work. Okay, yeah, so we don't need this one anymore. Let's take it off. Let's comment it. All right, now let's see our code. Can't you see we now have much space from here, unlike before? All right, this is how you give space between your elements. Okay, this space between your elements. I believe you are understood what margin and padding is now, right? So let's move to the next one, which is background color. Okay, background color. All right, background color, which is self-explanatory, giving color to the background of your element. All right, let's give this button background color of red. All right, background color of red. See, it has now a red background color, right? Now let me explain this trick for you, because when I was starting out in HTML, I really found this thing confusing. The difference between color and background color, right? When to use it. Now let me explain to you when to use it. If you want to change the color of a text, like this our H1 now, if you want it to have blue color, right, you use color. All right, use color, then you can specify by finding blue, or use you can write it out anyway you like, or you can use RGBA or whatever to specify it. Now our H1 will change to blue. All right, this is how you add colors to your text. All right, so don't find these two things confusing. Whenever you want to change the color of your text, use color, only color. Don't use background color. You only use background color when you want to give background color to something else, right? But if you want to change the color of your text, use color. Okay, I believe this background color is self-explanatory, right? So I don't need to go deep on it much. Now we have letter spacing. All right, letter spacing. Have you seen a website before when all the text seems to be far away from each other? Now let's check our Netflix clone that we are building. Now looking at this Netflix clone, it seems as if this text has much space in between them, all right, than our normal H1 here. All right, it has much space in between them. These letters have much space in between them, even though that the font weight is very bigger than our own, right? But it still has much space, unlike our own that is so close to each other, right? So if you want to achieve this effect, the CSS property you will use is called letter spacing. Let me show you how it works, right? If I want our H1 to have the letters to be a little bit far away from each other, I use letter spacing. All right, let me say 2 pixels, right? Let me use rem. I love using rem whenever I'm talking about letter spacing. All right, now can't you see how far away they are from each other? Very far away they are from each other. So you can use this thing to achieve a very cool effect. Let me move back to pixels, the one you comprehend. All right, let's say 20 pixels. All right, now you see, look at the effect you will achieve with letter spacing, right? Letter spacing helps you to give space between the letters of your text. All right, like the way we are manipulating our H1 now. All right, we are manipulating this H1. We can say we want them to be very far away from each other, like so far away from each other. We can say 50 pixels. They can space across this screen, right? If you want them to be smaller, you can reduce this into 10, right? 10 pixels. All right, stuff like that. So we can achieve cool, amazing features with these properties. All right, I believe you enjoyed this video. I believe you understood something. I believe you got value, because that's the reason why I'm doing this video. I want you to get value. All right, if my audio is not clear, please, if you can suggest any recording software for me, I would really appreciate it. All right, so that I'll be giving you cool and amazing content. One thing I want you to do for me is to like this video if you get value from it. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, because I'll be dropping amazing videos here on our channel. All right, I love you guys. I wish you good luck in all you do. God bless you.